Welcome to the Human Being Unleashed podcast, where we redefine, realign, and reimagine what it means to be human so that you can live a life with the health, wealth, and relationships that are inherently yours. Another week, another amazing conversation with an amazing human being that you guys already know you're going to grow to love just as much as I have. I have been watching this individual for a little bit over a year, maybe about a year and a half since I've first heard of him. And throughout that time, I didn't really follow him much. But just with the way the order of events have been happening, especially with the coaching programs I'm in, which we'll explain a little bit in here, he came a bit more, or should I say, I came a bit more into his world. And after looking into his personal story, I saw a big opportunity in terms of value that can be given to my audience. I have the pleasure. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Andrew Kroeze. He is a successful entrepreneur who actually already sold his agency in a multi-million-dollar coaching business, which is interesting because not many people build coaching businesses in ways that sell. So that in itself, that is just awesome alone, other than the fact that he has some awesome, just awards like the 2 Comma Club award that he's won already 3 times. He's been on stages with people like Damon John, Kevin Harrington, Jesse Itzler, and really this guy, let me just say, he's an all-around amazing individual. He's also doing amazing philanthropy work today. But aside from all of that, I didn't bring him on here because of the amount of money he's made or the people he's talked on stages with. I brought him on here because of his story and his perspective on business, because of what happened with him or in him throughout his personal entrepreneur journey. So let me just stop taking up all your time and let's dive into this amazing conversation with Andrew Kroeze. I have known of Andrew for maybe about 2 years. I first heard of you, by the way, through Eli Wild. I joined one of his sales courses, and he kept talking about this Andrew Kroeze guy, and I was all like, "Who is he? Who is this guy?" And I remember looking into him, and then looking into you, and then later down the line, I hear about Michael Chu and you really making some moves together. And then here I found myself with all of your clients, all of your ex-clients, really getting to know them. And I recently started going through your Facebook just out of pure curiosity as to why you did what you did and the way you've done things. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's just dive in. By the way, guys, if you're watching live right now, go to the hashtag live in the comments below. I see there's about 6 of you who jumped on already, which is awesome. Let us know where you are watching from. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to just start here. So I was doing a little bit of research on you and really getting a little bit more background behind you as a person, right? So I know a little bit about you. So you're from Ohio, is that right?
Yep, born and raised.
Born and raised in Ohio. Great. Now, by the way, my business partner is in Ohio. I love her and I love Ohio, but I always make fun of Ohio. I don't know why. And I don't know why, but there's so much funny memes about Ohio. It is the funniest thing in the world. Okay, but anyways, you started in entrepreneurship around 2017, right? That's when it looks like that's when you got into online advertising. Now, I read somewhere that before you got into business, you were really in a depressed space. In fact, you also mentioned that I saw you mention that depression was always a part of your life. For a long time, you were always, going through that. So I'm curious, what was life like before you got into entrepreneurship? And what were the events that led you to thinking about, let me dive into this thing called entrepreneurship?
Dude, this is epic. I can see why it's a 2% podcast. And thank you for having me, Adrian.
Absolutely, man.
You definitely did your homework. So 2017 was a real turning point in my life because from ages 18 to 24, I was super depressed. I was taking Wellbutrin, Lexapro, bunch of different antidepressants. I was in now therapy. And it really started when I was 18 years old, where I went through a breakup and went through massive heartbreak and didn't know how to deal with it or process my emotions. So I turned to drinking, joining a fraternity, got addicted to Adderall, all of that stuff. And that went on for 6 years until I was 24. And then I knew I needed to make a change those entire 6 years. And the catalyst for me to actually making that change was actually reading a poem called Invictus by William Ernest Henley. And the final two lines in that poem is, I'm master of my fate, I'm captain of my soul. And for some reason, I was behind my computer in Chicago. I was doing sales at the time, hated it.
Okay, so you were in sales. Was it like commission only?
No, it was a
Okay.
base salary, and I had to do 50 cold calls per day to like these big companies. I was selling customizations on top of CRMs.
Well, I've done cold calling. It's brutal. So I got you.
It was horrible. But I was working that day, and then I just read that poem, and the two lines just stood out to me. I'm master of my fate and captain of my soul. And it just triggered something in me where I was like, okay, I've been wanting to lose weight. I've been wanting to quit drinking. Let me set this goal and really be master my fate and captain my soul. And there's nothing stopping me from accomplishing this. So I ran across the street to this pizza shop that I knew had free calendars, grabbed a free calendar, came back to my apartment and marked off 90 days. And I said I was going to be 20 pounds lighter and I was going to be completely sober for 90 days at that point. And this was April of 2017, and I circled the day in July. So, so I just started working on that. Instead of putting my focus and attention on drinking and going out with people and that sort of stuff, I focused on nutrition and hitting the gym and just focusing on myself. And I hadn't cried for 6 years. And day 45, I broke down, cried in the shower, and it was just, I was starting to feel again. Day 75.
So nothing, I'm sorry. So I just want to catch that. So nothing in particular made you cry that day. In other words, you felt like you were just feeling more of the things that you haven't felt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was such a cathartic experience where I was like, whoa, I'm feeling again, because I had been numb for so long. Then day 75, I was at the YMCA, looked down at the scale, and I was 21 pounds lighter than I was 75 days previously. And fucking shredded too.
Nah, there you go.
And then
you did your own 75 hard.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's kind of crazy that it happened right on.
I was about to say, when you said 75, I immediately thought of that.
Yeah, I don't think that was out then, but still 75 days, it's pretty good for fitness. Then 15 days later, I was 90 days sober. So it was just momentum started to build up. And Ed Milet always says, when you make promises and keep promises to yourself, that's what builds confidence and momentum. And that's all I did. I was my word. I made a promise. I kept a promise, and that just built so much confidence and momentum. And that's my main thing now. I break down beliefs in different categories. So what my top operational belief is be your word. And the more I'm my word, the more I build up confidence and momentum.
Okay, we're gonna get down to how you break down beliefs here in a little bit, because I'm again, as a hypnotist, beliefs are like, when I hear them, I'm like, oh, what's all that about? Okay, so it sounds like your entrepreneur journey started as a personal growth journey first and foremost.
Oh yeah.
And you personally growing kind of just got you thinking into entrepreneurship. So where did the entrepreneurship kind of start falling into place in terms of, let me get into online advertising or start my own thing? Where did that come from?
Yeah. So during that time period of the 90 days of setting those goals, I came across Tai Lopez's course.
Okay.
Social media marketing agency.
The Lambos and all that. Yep.
Yeah. And even though it wasn't a great course, and courses back then weren't that great, it was the ignition to me becoming an entrepreneur. It was that simple thing where it was like, you need 10 clients at $1,000 a month, to make 10K per month. And I was making like 4K per month at the time. And I'm like, yes, please. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So I jumped into that course, like got that community around me, which built up massive confidence and momentum in the business space. And then it wasn't until I bought Dan Henry's course, Facebook Ads for Entrepreneurs, which again, not the best course, but the community was incredible.
Okay. So you started seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, really tapped into the community. Some of the people that I met there are still my best friends today. I finally moved from Chicago to my parents' basement in Cleveland and started getting clients there. So I would walk into gyms, I would walk into restaurants, I would walk into chiropractic offices.
Oh, wow. You were just walking. You were code walking, code knocking. There we go.
Exactly. And that's how I got my first few clients, was doing that. And then
I love that. So it wasn't the whole DM pitching on none of that. It was just, I'm gonna go walk up to some brick and mortars today and get me some clients.
I was like, I'm gonna go the most intimate, walk straight in. I offered starting out, I offered free trials, and then when I got free trials under my belt and results, then I started selling right off the bat. So
okay. So how long did it take for you to like start to realize like, okay, I can really just do this full time and do my own thing?
It was like 4 months where I was working remote for my sales job, but I didn't put that much time or effort into it. I just focused entirely on my agencies, just me. And I sold, like, it took about 3 months to get my first client. But once I got that, built up a lot of confidence and momentum from the free trial results, and it just worked out.
Oh, so within about 4 months, you realize, all right, I'm making more than I'm probably going to be making over here at your sales job. So
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I know you went on a 5-year wealth building journey, right? Like a wealth building season in your life. And it sounds like it started in 2017 when you started this business, right?
Yep.
Now, I think it's very, because building wealth puts you in an experience of life that's just different than not having wealth, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious as to what were some of the biggest lessons you've learned, whether it be personal, spiritual, business, that you've that made the biggest difference for you as you built wealth. Not what lessons did you learn to build wealth, but like in the experience of building wealth. Like, how did your perspective change in any ways, and any lessons you may have gained from that experience?
So I think most people with money will say this, but money doesn't make you happy. It gives you freedom. It gives you safety, which are elements of happiness, but it doesn't provide full happiness. So it's important to learn how to build wealth, learn how to the different departments of business and how to grow a business and that sort of stuff, if you want to be truly financially free. But that's not what's going to make you happy. Like, I got super depressed last year after selling my business and lost vision of my future. And had all the money I could ever want. So it's obviously not money that actually provides happiness. But also what I would add to that is, when you're starting out, don't follow your passion. I see too many people falling into the trap of thinking what they know what their passion is and trying to follow that before they know how to actually make money, before they actually know what financial systems are, what wealth building systems are, and like business systems. And when we know those systems and actually develop those skill sets, then build wealth, we can have the safety and security to actually like let go and actually feel into our passion and what it actually is, rather than thinking we know what it is when we're in that space of like, I don't have money, I don't feel safe, I don't feel secure. You can't really tap into your passion when you're constantly worried about money.
That's very true. That's very true, because it's like the hierarchy of needs, right? And impact. Do you know Michael Michalowicz?
Yeah.
So I forgot what book it was. Fix This Next. And he talks about how impact and legacy or some of the focuses that people start with when they start their business, and they never actually get past the sales part and like the part of like actually making sure there's income there. Okay. Now I feel like I skipped the part you selling your business and you realizing really quick. I mean, you realizing that money wasn't what made you happy. So I'm curious as to what led you to selling your business first and foremost. I know that you've shared in your experience that you felt really burnt out, right? Like, can you just share with me the story of like how that manifested for you? Like, when did you start realizing like, yo, this is probably not what I want to be doing, or I'm just not fitting the way I want to? What did that look like?
Yeah, so it was the beginning of 2021. My business was at multiple seven figures, profiting a lot. Clients were getting great results, had a team of 20. And on the outside, everything looked great. But I was constantly stressed and wasn't lit up by what we were actually selling, where we were teaching coaches how to grow their businesses. And it turned into this feeling where it was just like an MLM scheme where it was coaches, coaching coaches, coaching coaches. And looking back, I think that's what really burnt me out, was like I wasn't lit up by that. It started out great, but towards the end, I was just stressed. So beginning of 2021, I broke up with my girlfriend because I was so stressed. Girlfriend 2 years. Had a falling out with my best friend, who I had been best friends with for 3 years. And then I got in a car accident, woke up in a hospital. And it was like, wow, this is all happening because of me. I need to reduce complexity and reduce stress in my life so I can like just feel like myself again. So I flew back out to Encinitas, California, my favorite place in the whole world, and spent 2 months of just working on selling my business. And I didn't sleep for those 2 months. I would have like 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep, but wake up a nervous wreck.
Wow. So you just couldn't sleep. It's what it sounded like.
My nervous system was so out of whack. So I ended up selling to Michael Chu in those 2 months. There were 6 people that were interested, and Michael Chu was the best one. So I sold to him and I told him like, yo, I'll only take a 1 month independent contractor agreement to help with the transition. That's all I can do. Like my main thing is my health and my energy right now. And he was amazing. He was like, yes, do it. Awesome. So after that 1 month, I was like, I had been to a Buddhist monastery before. So I wanted to go back to a Buddhist monastery because I know how much that helped. I've gone twice for 2 weeks each. Incredible. It's called Deer Park Monastery in Escondido. Just place. And then that wasn't open. The monasteries weren't open because of COVID. But I found an ashram.
Right? In New York.
Yeah, in upstate New York, called Shivananda Ashram, which is run by yogis instead of monks.
I'm curious. Hold on. I'm curious. I want to know what your thinking is around this. It's like, it's not that much, entrepreneurs and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go be at an ashram. And it's just, so what made you want to go in that route as opposed to the fact that you already, other than the fact that you already been. So I'm guessing where in your life had you looking into these spiritual concepts? Because I've studied Buddhism, and I like practice it for a while. But of course, it's something I didn't like live my life by, of course, but it was like a big thing for me at a point. And so I love a lot of the concepts. I'm curious as to like, where in your life did that spiritual journey begin?
Yeah, I can't pinpoint a singular moment, but I think it was from my dad was a philosophy major in college. So he loves mixing the different religions and picking out like what's best and that sort of stuff. So I got a little taste of Buddhism and that sort of stuff growing up, not that much. But then I read The Power of Now in college with Eckhart Tolle and started meditating like just sporadically. And I knew how helpful that was into like tuning into myself and what I actually wanted in the moment, because I could finally be the observer of my thoughts instead of attaching myself to my thoughts.
Beautiful.
So then it just compiled over time where I started doing more meditation. I started This is it. I had a friend, J.R. Revis, who invited me to Deer Park Monastery the first time. So
Okay.
that was a big pinnacle moment, to going to a monastery for the first time.
I can imagine. I can imagine. All right. So you were in this ashram, and how long were you in this ashram for in New York?
I was there for a month. So I did a karma yoga program, which is where you help out on the land and that sort of stuff. So all I did was meditate, did yoga, ate vegan, actually got to work with my hands instead of behind the computer, which was,
Wow, I can imagine that was a difference.
it was amazing. And through the month, my nervous system finally came back online. I've started.
What do you mean? I was about to ask you, because I saw that you said that in the video. You said my nervous system came back online. What do you mean by that? Can you expand on that?
So I had this feeling where it was just like constant anxiety, constant like feeling of shakiness inside of my body. And that's what I mean by my nervous system being offline. Being online, more centered, more grounded, more being aware of my thoughts and not attaching myself to them, and just like fully feeling like myself again.
I got you. So within that time, you felt, so you said the things you did was eat vegan, yoga, meditate, work with your hands, and that was basically it. And you found yourself feeling more connected with yourself again.
Yeah, it was just the silence. Like to get back into ourselves, like the most helpful thing is being with ourselves.
Especially the contrast with the life of an entrepreneur, like a successful entrepreneur, like the contrast in between those two lifestyles. I can imagine that was a really interesting experience. So one of the things that you said I liked a lot was being connected. Actually, I wanted to make sure I don't like butcher what you said, but it was the basis of everything is the connection to ourselves, because it sounded like you were just saying, hinting here that, you were able to get back online, get back and connected with yourself. So when you say the basis of everything is our connection to ourselves, can you elaborate? Because I'd like to know what you mean by that.
I think the biggest thing is when we are connected to ourselves and we are aware of our thoughts and we're aware of our energy, we know what we want moment to moment. And I think that's the meaning of life, actually knowing what we want, coming from a heart-centered place, and knowing what we want moment to moment and taking the action on that. And a lot of times, and like when I was younger, and especially when I was depressed, my brain was using me. I wasn't using my brain. My brain is just a tool to get me to where I want to go. My heart tells me where I want to go. And if my brain is using me, I'm not going to be able to listen to my heart. But if I'm using my brain, I'm going to be able to be more in the moment and listen to my heart and know what I want moment to moment.
That's a good way to put it. And you said, and I know you have, so I want to ask you this question in terms of like, what are some things we can do to be connected? Because I was, going through some of your content and I saw you have something called the connection triangle. So can you expand on what the connection triangle is and how we can actually use that in our life to be more connected with ourselves?
Yeah. So I find that there are 3 different types of connection. So there's connection to self, connection to others, and connection to purpose. And connection to ourself comes down to our mindset and our energy, and knowing what those things actually mean. Then connection to others are relationships, and I have a bunch of different categories of what those relationships actually look like. And then finances, because finances are just an exchange of energy or value amongst people. And then connection to purpose is what actually brings fulfillment in our lives, not just success. What we're actually looking for is fulfillment, like feeling like we have a purpose on this earth and actually feeling that purpose inside of our body.
Okay. So what you said when you said knowing what mindset and energy actually mean. What is can you, in your own words, how would you define mindset? And how would you define that? And I'd also love for you to break down some of these areas of relationships, if you don't mind me asking too.
Absolutely. So we have a free course on mindset. It goes over the different categories and kind of a high level overview of like how to actually start putting these things and defining these things in your life.
Mm.
But over the past year, I've gone
And
a
by the
journey.
way, guys, we're gonna give you access to that at the end of this, just so you, yeah, that mindset course is what you're gonna get. Is what we're gonna give them access to, right?
Yeah,
All
100%.
right, lovely. So there you go. I'm gonna throw that little teaser in there. Go ahead, continue.
Thank you. Um, Over the past year, I've discovered my values, discovered my vision, discovered my beliefs, discovered the skill sets I need to go from where I'm at to where I actually want to go. And I find those are the core components of mindset. So my top 5 lifestyle values, and I break down values in 3 different categories. But my top 5 lifestyle values are community, connection, philosophizing, travel, and family. I didn't know philosophizing was a top value of mine,
I know
but
when you said philosophizing, I was like, that's an interesting value to have.
yeah.
Yeah. What did you mean when you said you didn't understand it was a value of yours?
One thing is our values change over time. And in
I
this
agree
season
there.
in my life, it's definitely thinking deeply about subjects and looking at society in a different way, in a way for us to grow and mature as a society. So that's what I'm constantly thinking about, is, okay, cool. This is what society is now. What can it look like in the future? What laws actually run society and the universe as a whole? And how can I learn more about these laws and like what's actually happening to create a new set of laws or new set of frameworks to allow my purpose on Earth is to help people mature in love and consciousness. I discovered that over the past year. So that's what I'm always thinking about. Like, how can I first mature in love and consciousness, and then how can I help others mature in love and consciousness?
Okay. And how did you find your purpose, if you don't mind me asking? You said you discovered that over the last year. Was that something like, was that like a moment for you? Was it a set of events that just started kind of showing things to you? What was that looking like?
So it happened over time, and I think our purpose can change because we're never the same person moment to moment. So it was just asking myself constantly, why am I on this earth? Why am I on this earth? Why am I on this earth? And then things have come to me from just like going on walks, meditating, like being with myself instead of my brain just constantly going.
Yeah. Okay. So just consistently asking yourself the question. Now, how did you know you found it though?
It felt right
Felt.
in my body. Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't like an intellectual thing. It was more of, oh, whoa, that's it. And one thing that I really subscribe to, like my theory on life that I subscribe to, is the egg theory. It's a little crooked egg, but I drew all.
Okay. Wait, are those tattoos?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay. Nice.
So this is basically who I am as a person.
Okay.
Um,
Wait, I'm sorry. You got to break that down, man. I gotta I want to see what that is about.
all right. So the first one that I got was a smiley face.
Okay.
And I was driving from Austin, Texas to Miami, where I was at. And I was kind of in a low mood. And I was driving through Alabama, and I looked up at a water tower that had a really simple smiley face on it, and it made me smile. And then I felt better. I was like, cool, let me just smile more and I'll feel better. Because it releases, when we smile, it releases dopamine and a
Yep.
bunch of other happy neurotransmitters. So why don't I do that more? And there's also this thing called a Duchenne smile, which is smiling with the eyes. That's supposed to be the perfect smile. If you want to look into that, look it up on YouTube.
Smiling with the eyes.
Yeah. So like the wrinkles around the eyes, and the
Yeah.
more we can really like nail that in, it releases the most amount of like happy neurotransmitters. So
Interesting.
yeah. So then I got these 3 when I was in Guatemala. So this is for one love. I believe everything outside of us is just love. It's our brain that interprets things as like bad or fear or that sort of stuff. But everything outside of us, just love. So one love. Then the egg theory was a short story written by Andy Weir. There's also a video on YouTube around it. And it's basically the meaning of life and what life is actually about. And I think everybody should have a life philosophy of like, why is humanity on this earth, you know? So that's why I subscribe to the most, which is basically the meaning of life is to mature in love and consciousness, and that we are all just one being. And if I victimize somebody, I'm victimizing myself. If I'm doing an act of kindness to somebody, I'm doing an act of kindness to myself. And it's just really allowed me to tap into like just more love and consciousness and growing that way. And then this is the sign for breath. So I'm a breathwork facilitator.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing breath work for about 5 years. I've been facilitating it for about 8 months. And I find breath to be the key to being in the moment and being more in tune with life. So I meditate every day. I do breath work every day. I help other people do holotropic breathwork sessions. And then there's so many different types of breath. And if more people knew the different types of breath, then they would be more tapped into who they are. So if you want to learn more about that, highly recommend checking out Sam Skelly. She is amazing with breath work.
Sam Skelly?
Yeah, and I'm actually a part of her program right now to better my skill set with breath work and be a better facilitator.
Okay.
But like 3 types of breath work that I highly recommend is holotropic breathing, which is it's like a trauma release. It's very, very healing, and it can be very, very intense. You can actually experience a DMT trip while you're doing holotropic breathing. And it's also called DMT breathing. So it's intense.
So it's actually called DMT breathing too.
Yeah, it's got that name. So then Wim Hof breathing, which is what most people have heard about. That is super powerful. And then breath of fire. So with holotropic breathing and with Wim Hof, when we're done with it, we actually have very little cortisol and a lot of serotonin in our body, making us feel really, really relaxed. Because when we're breathing with the belly, we release a lot of serotonin. So then, yeah, and then with breath of fire, it's more snapping in the belly and just out the mouth. So I do that when I have a big work day where I want to be more present and in the moment, but also I want that cortisol to drive me and stay active in work. So different types of breath can provide different types of hormones and neurotransmitters in our brain based on how we're doing it. So.
What other tools are you using to keep because I also hear you talk about the energy onion, right? And this energy onion of we have our physical energy, mental, emotional, and spiritual, correct?
Yeah, you did your homework.
I try, man. I try. So I'm curious as to what number one, what's the basis of why you teach the energy onion and why you teach it the way you teach it? So let's start there. Like, what's the basis of why you do it? And then we can dive into some of the things that we can do in these areas of our life, or maybe even share just some of the things you're doing in those areas of your life.
Yeah, great question. So I feel like with mindset and the brain and all of that, it's overly focused on that everything happens in the brain, which is bullshit. Like it starts with the body and it starts with how we feel. So if we know the 4 different types of energy and know how to tap into those, our thoughts will be so much better. We'll feel so much better. So that's why energy is so important, is it actually drives like how our brain is actually
like the cause and effect. You're living on the cause side of things rather than the effect side of things.
Exactly. And like Tony Robbins constantly talks about state. What he's actually talking about is your energetic body and getting to a prime state with your energetic body. So that's why I call it energy. So then the 4 different types of energy that we have within ourselves are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I call it an onion because when you peel back the layers and elevate your energies in the categories of physical, mental, and emotional, then you get to the core, which is spiritual, which is being in touch with everything around you and being in touch with yourself at the same time. So So it kind of goes with like my own journey where I was super depressed until I set that goal to lose 20 pounds. And when I was exercising well, eating well, I was tapping into my physical energy. And when I was tapping into my physical energy, I had more mental energy. I could process things better in my mind. I could focus better. And then when I was able to process things better in my mind and I was able to focus better, I had more emotional capacity to process these undesired emotions and then fill it with desired emotions. So then the more I've done that over time, the more I've been tapped into my spiritual energy. Like over the past 8 months, I've felt very much in a flow state of just like things have just kind of freaking happened and I have no explanation for it. And it just kind of happens because I've been tapping into these energies. That's why it's so powerful. So with physical energy, good nutrition, exercise, that sort of stuff, taking care of our physical body. Mental energy, ramping up our mental RPMs. So focusing on things that we really, really enjoy, reading about it, putting action into it, and putting that mental effort into those things, but also taking the time to meditate and focus your energy to where the mental energy to where it wants to go.
Okay,
And
so
then,
you're saying, wait, one more time on the mental part, clarification question. You're saying focusing on more of the things that actually like make you feel good, things that you actually want, but putting action into them too. Like in other words, like like just getting. So it sounds like what you're saying to me is getting more involved with what just naturally lights you up. So the next step is a lot easier, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it's so much easier to do things in our life when we're doing things that we actually want to do.
Dude, yes. Right now, I'm doing market research, and I've been doing. And when I say market research, like I'm talking to actual people on the phone and hearing their problems. And I will go for like 4 hours straight. But I've realized if I have 4 hours, I talk to somebody. But I'm so excited because of the problem I'm solving, right? And so like I get what you. It's like, oh my god, just I actually like market research now. But yeah, it's interesting.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's much like all of these categories is like going to the gym. Like for each energy, we have to stress that energy to make it stronger. It's like, so when we go to the gym, like our muscles aren't actually growing at the gym. They're growing when we're sleeping, when we're recovering, when we're sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Like same thing with our mental energy. Like we're putting it to the test, ramping up our mental RPMs, and like that's intense work, focused work, that sort of stuff. And then our brain gets tired. Like let's listen to our brain when it gets tired so it can recover and create those new neural pathways.
Oh, I like that. Listen to your brain when it's tired. I can use that sometimes.
Yeah. And then just strengthening these energies by testing them and then releasing them. So after hitting the gym, sometimes just lying down and just being with your body and letting it recover right after that is the best thing to do. And then, so we talked about physical, mental, and then emotional,
Yes.
which is actually knowing what emotions are in the body and processing them. And I do somatic therapy. So I have a somatic therapist that I talk to regularly, and she helps me identify what I'm feeling in my body and allows me to, she holds space to allow me to process it. And the more we process our emotions, the less they have control over us. So
can I ask you, what does that processing looks like?
Yeah. So I highly recommend.
I can imagine it's different a lot of the times, maybe. I don't know, but what is it for you?
So I highly recommend somatic therapy. I went to talk therapy for 6 years and nothing has helped me as much as somatic.
Yeah, we've actually had well, she's not a somatic therapist, but somatic therapy is a big, like, kind of part of what she does. I think it was just like the interview right before you. So that work is, we at Michael Chu's event, we did some somatic therapy, and dude, I never in my life shook and cried so much. And I felt so good afterwards. Yeah, I felt so great afterwards. So I do highly recommend that as well. But yeah, what does that processing look like for you?
Yeah, there are a bunch of different types, but the key components are breathing, being present and aware with our body, where we're feeling a certain emotion, and sitting with that emotion and allowing it to process. because we get this built up emotional body of just like undesired emotions when we don't actually sit with it and allow it to process through our body.
And then we wonder why we're like how
Why do
you
I
said,
feel this way?
offline.
I've been
Yeah.
ignoring my feelings this whole fucking time. I was that way for 6 years. I was just ignoring my emotions. So
Yeah, and I feel like one of the biggest mistakes, and you could probably attest to this too. Like I feel like one of the biggest mistakes in entrepreneurship is ignoring your feelings. I mean, I saw a freaking post yesterday, like somebody shared it, and it said, train your mind to ignore your feelings and to like just don't bring your feelings into what you're doing when you're working. I'm just like, no matter where you go, you're always feeling. No matter where you're going, you're always feeling. That kind of advice is what causes so much people to experience what you were experiencing for such a long time,
mhm.
right? So okay, so you do somatic therapy, and so it sounds like breath work in itself is a way to actually process emotion. Just do a simple. Is there any specific breathwork techniques other than the ones you've shared that you use to process emotions, or is that what you've already shared so far?
Yeah, those 3 types are the main ones
Okay.
that I do. So holotropic breathing, I do that about once a month. Then with Wim Hof, I do it 1 to 2 times per week. And then with Breath of Fire, I do it every single day. Usually it's
Okay.
4 or 5 times per day. Whenever I get too stressed, like when I get too heady, I do Breath of Fire and it gets me back into my body and I still have that cortisol to help me with work.
Getting out of the head into the body. I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. All right, and then last was spiritual. So
Yeah.
what's that looking like?
So spiritual is just tapping into those 3 energies. And then the last thing that I do is visualization. There's a really good app called Envision. So I do 10 minutes of visualization every single day. And the more I'm tapped into the other energies, the better I am at actually visualizing my future. And then like we attract or we get what we are, not what we want. So when we're in that state of being tapped into the other energies and visualizing it in that state and actually feeling it to its max capacity, we start to vibrate on a little different level. We start to attract those things into our life, and life becomes way more flowy and way less forceful. It's really powerful.
Yeah. It's like that book, The Surrender Experiment. I heard you
Yeah,
mention
Michael
that.
Sinek.
I
Yeah,
heard you mention that book. That book, I've read it maybe like 4 times. Just the storyline of that book is insanely good. It's a very good storyline. Yeah, so if you've not read that book, I recommend it. Um, Now, this is a question I'm really interested in, and I would say, what are some of the biggest differences in the way you think and look at the way you think about and look at business now
mm,
compared to 2017 when you started? And I'm not asking what things would you have done different, because I can imagine you probably wouldn't have, because it's where it led you here, right? But I'm curious as to how do you think about business differently than you used to?
good question. Um, so I used to think that I needed to do everything in my business. I was a solo entrepreneur for a year and a half, didn't feel good about letting up sales calls or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
So I realized looking back now, I was shooting myself in the foot with that. Um, and the way I look at business now is it's going to sound interesting. It's about heart brain coherence throughout a business. And what I mean by that,
Oh yes. Okay, go
that
ahead.
that the CEO, the founder, the person at the top is meant to be the heartbeat of an organization. So setting the vision, setting the values, setting the purpose, and ingraining that into the team. Then the leadership team is responsible for being the brain. So interpreting that heartbeat and telling the hands or the employees or the other team members that are actually putting in the work what to do. So I look at it as like an actual person at the top is the
Wow.
heartbeat. The
Interesting.
leadership team or the executive team is the brain. And then the employees or the other team members are the hands. So when we have the heart, brain, hands all in a line, that's when we're actually making a big difference. And actually, that's how a business works.
Mm, okay. Anything else in terms of the way you see things differently in business?
Systems and team. setting that foundation and not having to put out fires like every single day.
Every single day. Yeah.
Like
You can get addicted to becoming a firefighter real quick.
yeah. And there's like the very first system is your vision system. So how are you actually setting up? And what I recommend is a 3-year vision. There's a really good book called Vivid Vision.
Is that by oh, hold on, wait, don't tell me the name. Cameron, is that Cameron Harrell?
Harold? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah, I actually want to get him on the. I'm actually want to get him on the podcast to dive into that entire book. But the easy read. It's a good book. I like it.
Yeah. Really good book for vision. Setting the values of your organization, like super important. Starting there, and then building the departments around that, and building the systems around that. So being marketing, sales, delivery, operations, finances, hiring, so on and so forth.
Got you. Now, this is an interesting question. One of my last questions for you as we close upon this hour is, I can imagine you understand the significance of beliefs, right? And we all know that, we're going to behave we're going to always do what we believe, in other words, right? We're always kind of going to behave in a way that we think. So what beliefs would you say you have adopted on your entire entrepreneur journey and spiritual journey, especially over the last, year and stuff, whenever you went traveling and all of that? What are some of the beliefs that you wish you would have started entrepreneurship with?
Yeah. So the very first one is I'm master of my fate and captain of my soul. That's my core belief. Then the other one is I'm an antenna and vehicle for love and truth. And that allows me to be more flowy and less overthinking things, and allow myself just come from a place of love. And then also, I have a whole nother thing about this. This kind of shows how much I love philosophizing. I don't think we can actually know truth as human beings. So our brain is just like, it can't actually like know the truth. We can feel the truth when we see it, or when we hear it, or so on and so forth. But us like actually saying the truth is actually impossible, because our brain is interpreting it, and it's all brains are biased.
I wish I had
so whenever anybody says this is the truth, I know the truth, I'm like, that's your belief, and like I can feel it's close to the truth, or I can feel that's actually fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Because we can't actually know truth as human beings. We can feel it. We can feel like close to it, but we can't actually say it.
Dude,
so it's always just
all I'm saying is we would have the dopest conversation on exactly what you just said, because there's this. So, I'm not a religious guy, but I love a lot of the things Jesus talks about. And he had there's all these gospels that were not really put in the Bible, and one of them is the Gospel of Philip. So I was reading through that gospel, and he says something very interesting. He goes, all words turn man away from truth. Mm-hmm. And the man who's actually walked into like the kingdom, who's actually been inside of the temple, he keeps silent. And mm-hmm. the man who talks about being in the temple has never really entered the temple, because
so
when you enter the temple, to keep silent. It's just like there's no need to like speak. And just like Jesus asked Thomas, like, what truth did you just hear me say? And Thomas was like, I cannot utter what you are, because I just cannot utter that. And I was like, oh my God. So like, I love all of that. I even wrote an entire essay, because I'm a writer. I even wrote an entire essay called No Words. And it's all about not using words, but it's written in words. It's hilarious. But anyways, okay. So one of my last questions for you is,
I have one thing when you're talking came up.
Ahead,
I think the most important belief for anyone is life isn't short. It's the longest thing we've ever done, and it's the longest.
Always agreed to that. Yes.
Like the more I've tapped into that, the less stress I've been, the more I've been in the moment, the less I've been like, oh, I need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to do X, Y, and Z because life is short. And it's like, no, life is long. Like, it's okay that like I don't feel okay right now because life is long and I'll feel better like down the line
I
instead of
like that. No urgency. Like there's like in terms of like living in urgency all the time. And have you read that book? No, go ahead. I can tell you about to say something.
Oh my God. So this is my mission
We're
for
good on time, by the way. As long as you're good on time, I'm good.
so this is my mission for the world, for society, is for society to move from a fear-based state to a love-based state. So we were talking about feelings, and what feelings actually are, on just a core component level, is like it's our mixture of our hormones and our neurotransmitters. It's just chemicals. So what's putting us in a stressed or fear-based state? It's cortisol and epinephrine. What causes that? Loud noises, boom, a little bit more stressed in our body. That can happen. So you just released cortisol and epinephrine from hearing that loud noise, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's why you get upset when somebody like screams in your ear. He's like, hey, motherfucker, like, damn. Like, yeah.
Exactly. So you don't want to do that to other people. And I'm sorry that I did it to you guys. What we want to do is move towards more of a love-based state, being dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So how do we do that? Well, we focus on ourselves first to build that up. You can release a lot of serotonin through breath work. You can release a lot of endorphins through working out. You can release a lot of dopamine and oxytocin from being around people that you love and sharing stories. We're just constantly releasing neurotransmitters within ourselves and other people constantly. And that's what makes us feel the way we feel. So helping people actually identify how to move from a fear-based state to a love-based state for themselves, and how to actually put other people in a love-based state. And it's really fucking cool because you can help other people move to more of a love-based state by doing storytelling and talking with people. You literally release neurotransmitters in other people based on what you're talking about. So if you want to release dopamine between the two of us, it's storytelling. So we've been releasing dopamine this whole time because dopamine is the pursuit of pleasure molecule. It's not actually the pleasure molecule. So when we're storytelling, we're like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Dopamine release. And then you can also release a lot more dopamine by pausing. So it made you more focused, more.
I was about to say, like, did everything just like pause for a second?
Yeah. So you're like, what's going on? What's going on? Dopamine release. And then you can help release oxytocin, which is the bonding molecule, making people feel closer together by stories of empathy. So like me talking about the story of how I was depressed for 6 years, you felt closer to me because you could put yourself in your shoes in the time that you felt bad, and then you feel more bonded. And then also endorphins are released through funny stories. So when we were joking, when we were messing around, that sort of stuff, when we were laughing, that is when we release endorphins. So when we release those three chemicals, we feel so much more connected to one another. And also we just feel better and we're more of a love-based state together.
Dude, now you got me thinking of like rewriting my entire last speech because I have the talk coming up. So I'm just like, I know I have like some really emotional stories, but like those funny ones too. I'm like, oh man, I got to go pull those out somewhere. I'm a storyteller by like heart, dude. Like it's like storytelling is my jam. But thank you so much for breaking that down. That was great. Where did you like learn? Like, was there something like a book in particular that kind of broke that down for you or something?
So I believe his name is David J.P. Phillips. He's one of the best. I'll need to look that up, but he's one of the best public speakers, and he's a public speaking coach. And he dives deep into neurotransmitters, how to release, and that sort of stuff. And then also I was a psychology major in college. So I am obsessed with neurotransmitters and hormones and how that actually makes us work.
Interesting. I love that. Man, this has been an awesome talk. Like I felt like just like this has been like, I love how it's like, how just like, how you're not heavily focused. I understand tactics and strategies are a big thing, but I love how you see business as a part of like, well, first and foremost, is it coming from a connected place? Imagine how many people build businesses out of fear. Right?
Mhm.
Imagine how many businesses come out of that, as
Mhm.
opposed to building a business out of love.
Yeah.
And yeah, beautiful stuff. So I'm curious, what are the top 3 books that have changed your life? Because yeah, I'm selfish. That's a selfish question. I would like to know.
How much time do we have?
Dude, we're good, bro. We're good. I do have like another 15 minutes. Yeah.
I have a story around one book.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
My number one book is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
I don't know why I've never gotten around to that book. All right.
Get it on
Amazing.
Audible and fall asleep to it. I've now read it over 35 times, and it is soaked into my subconscious hard fucking core.
That's how I am with the Science of Getting Rich. I can't even count how much times I've read that book, but it's like a
So
2-hour book too.
yeah. Then the second one would be The Great Work of Your Life by Stephen Cope. Taught me all about Dharma and our own personal path and that sort of stuff. Um, and then number three, God, those are my top two. I'll give you a business book.
Yeah,
The best business book I've ever read is The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham.
my friend
Epic
Beasley
book,
told me
talks
about
all
that one.
about thinking time instead of like tactics and strategies. No, it's about thinking time. It's actually like pondering questions and doing what's best for your business instead of like stealing a strategy and putting it out there. So
Exactly. I love that. And what are you excited? What are you working on right now that you're excited about, man? I know you really started like, building a business from a real conscious place now, right? So what is this new business you're doing? What is it about it that has you so excited and has you up all night like you're talking about, right? So yeah, what's going on right now?
So our core holding company is the Reprogramming Project.
I saw
So
that on the email that you gave me. I was like, ooh, okay, what's that? Okay, so that's okay.
it comes down to a very basic philosophy that we're all doing our best with our current programming. So if we can help people reprogram their mindset and their energy and develop better relationships and finances and connect to their purpose, this life or this world becomes a better place. So it's about helping people reprogram themselves and not being like it's the first like non-cult business where it's like here are the models and you figure out who you are. Like we're not installing
Okay.
anything into
So it's
you.
not like you're gonna come do my way and
Yeah.
find my way and like, okay, interesting.
Yeah. So very much here are the frameworks, and then you dive into yourself and actually like identify who you are.
Mm,
So that's our
beautiful.
core holding company. We launched a brotherhood because community is so important to me, and I think if everybody just had community to hold them accountable, to talk about different values, different beliefs, learn different skill sets from one another, this world becomes a better place. So we launched the Masters of Fate Brotherhood 4 months ago. We have 42 guys in there right now, ranging from 6-figure to 8-figure entrepreneurs. And we have 2 events per year. We have weekly calls, all of that stuff, and just a rocking community, and they're always jamming out back and forth. So Masters of Fate, where I'm hiring a female CEO at the end of the year to start the sisterhood.
Interesting.
So we're
Interesting.
doing both sides, and then we might start like a dating thing or have events with men and women. So we're still figuring
Yeah.
it
It
out.
could be there's a lot of creative ideas sitting there.
Yeah, especially as these guys and these women develop and understand themselves better with their values, their vision, their beliefs, their skill sets that they have, that sort of stuff. Then we could create a dating app based on those things and actually connect people
Holy
on
shit.
values. Yeah, so we've been
Holy
thinking
shit.
about that.
That's an
Um,
interesting idea.
Yeah. So we have those 2 businesses, and then we have the reprogramming project for businesses. So we just launched that. That's helping businesses reprogram their vision, their values, their purpose, but then also developing the systems around that. So one thing that I've been developing this app for about 6 months now, where it's basically your whole entire business in one app. And it aligns your team towards your 3-year vision and sets up goals and all that stuff. So
Are you a tech guy or you just know people in that space who know how to do all of that?
I'm an Airtable guy. So I'm building
Uh,
up everything on Airtable first. And then we're moving it to a custom application.
Interesting. Yeah, because I'm actually doing something in the tech. I'm like diving into the tech space, and like I just like have somebody who like really knows what he's doing. Because I'm like, dude, I don't know what the hell I'm doing in this space at all. Interesting. So how can well one thing actually is I know about this brotherhood that you got going. So tell us a little bit more about like what it's for and like who it's for and why they'd want to like look into that and then how they can learn more about diving into that with you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's for mostly entrepreneurial men that are looking to grow in their mindset, energy, relationships, and finances and connect to their purpose. So that's broken down the whole model.
Yeah.
It's a year long, 2 events, weekly calls, all that good stuff, and just an awesome community. Plus, we have accountability squads, so we put you in smaller groups to hold each other accountable and all of that.
Ah.
And we just launched the forward-facing app for the guys, where it breaks down, you identify your beliefs, you identify your value, you identify your vision, you identify the skill sets that you need to get there. And it's all in one custom app, and it's forward-facing, and you can edit it at any time. So if your beliefs change, you can change those. If your values change, you can change those. And the more we review our beliefs, our values, our skill sets that we're looking to develop, then we actually become those things. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. So it's a custom app to be reminded of
Constantly
remind. Yeah.
That's genius. And plus you're consistently focused on it. Like you said, you will become that. Yeah. I like that a lot. Damn, that's nice. That's nice. So what if somebody wants to learn about it, how can they contact you, or is there like a page that they can go visit or anything like that?
Yeah, hit me up on Facebook if you're interested. Also, I'll provide you the link to.
Yeah, I was just about to say. So I know you have a course, and this is a good way they can get into your world, and then I'm sure they can just start following you through there as well. So what is this? What is this course about, and how can they access that?
So the mindset course goes over the mindset triangle. So being your values, your beliefs, your vision, your skill sets, and then also when we identify those things, we're constantly interacting with mirrors in our life, things that are reflecting back to us who we are in every second. So if we stick to our values, our beliefs, our skill sets, and our vision, that when we're interacting with those mirrors, those things become stronger. If we go against one of our values or one of our beliefs in every single moment, those things get weaker. And then at the very top of the triangle, it's your new being. You're a new person once you hold those things strong and keep working on them. So that's a mindset triangle in a nutshell, and the course goes deeper into that.
Okay, and where can they go to get that course?
I'll send you over the
link. Yeah. Send me over. Okay, yeah. So he's gonna send me over a link. Just look in the show notes. You'll see you can get direct access to that course. By the way, I just want to say I love how you say everything is a mirror, because I held an episode a couple of weeks ago talking about how our thoughts are literally electromagnetic energies, units of energy, and our feelings are units of electromagnetic energy as well, and the universe is electromagnetic energy. And it's like, the world is it's a reflection of your own perception, and so I just love when you said that, because I was like, it's like, so yeah, y'all guys already see him talking about that. So beautiful. All right, man, this has been absolutely amazing. And so the question that I leave everybody with, and it's a loaded question, I know it is, if you had 30 or 60 seconds left to give one last message to the world, megaphone to the entire universe, what would that be?
Know who you are, know who you want to become, and develop the values, beliefs, and skill sets to get there.